Hi.
Hey.
Welcome in Line by Line. We are discussing a Disney song today from Frozen called Let It Go. This time I chose because that song is has so many layers. On one side, it represents liberation, freedom. On the other side, it kind of breaks the barrier between good and evil as well. And so that was interesting to analyze. So thank you, Manuel, for helping me out with it.
Yeah. I like this idea of frozen, right? Because frozen it's not moving, right? It's being stuck in some way. So I think that's already like connecting a whole lot of things for me.
It's very stoic.
In some sense, yes.
It's like unnatural stoicism.
Yeah.
Like,
The snow glows white on the mountain tonight. Not a footprint to be seen. A kingdom of isolation, and it looks like I'm the queen.
the wind is howling like this swirling storm inside. Couldn't keep it in. Heaven knows I tried. Don't let them in. Don't let them see. Be the good girl. You always have to be. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know. Well, now they know.
Let it go. Let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. Let it go. Let it go. Turn away and slam the door. I don't care what they're going to say. Let the storm rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway.
It's funny how some distance makes everything seem small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do, to test the limits and break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free.
Let it go. Let it go. I'm one with the wind and sky. Let it go. Let it go. You'll never see me cry. Here I stand, and here I stay. Let the storm rage on.
My power flourishes through the air into the ground. My soul is spiraling in frozen fractals all around. And one thought crystallizes like an icy blast. I'm never going back. The past is in the past.
Let it go. Let it go. When I'll rise like the break of dawn. Let it go. Let it go. That perfect girl is gone. Here I stand in the light of day. Let the storm rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway.
Yay! Amazing. Like, I remember when I first time heard it, like I had goosebumps. It was like all the things that I felt guilty about. I was like, yes, let it go, anarchy. It really taps into a rebellious kind of spirit.
Yeah, and that's connecting to the essence, I think, right? Like you're letting it go, but what's going to take the place, and that's going to be in the background, I guess, the whole time.
Like when you're letting go of your repression, but then if you, yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, let's get to it.
The snow glows white on the mountain tonight, not a footprint to be seen. A kingdom of isolation, and it looks like I'm the queen. So a sense of being untouched, untreaded, And then there's this kingdom of isolation, right? So now it's an untouchedness and an untreadedness that's separating, so that, oh, like you don't get close to who I really am. You don't, yeah, like there's this thing which the real her is not in relationship. She doesn't have the intimacy with the world, and she's the queen, but what is she the queen of, right? Like she's a queen of nothing, like of snow on the mountain.
Yes. So she looks around, everything is white, and then there is not a one footprint. So she realizes she's alone. And normally it would evoke feelings of sadness and loneliness, but she feels like, well, since I'm alone, let me be, let me be the queen of it. So she already realizing her power in here. So she names herself the queen of isolation and the queen of loneliness. Okay, it's good situational thing. Like, I like it from psychological point of view, where you stop and you look around and you try to name your environment. It's like, where are you, what is around you, and then what are you in relationship to that. So this even the first lines, I like that it gives like the pattern of coping with whatever is happening here, which is really good.
Yeah, and like I've lived in isolation for a long time, so I know about what it is, right? And it's like stepping back because the pressure of being with people is too much, right? But it, for me, that was a coping mechanism, right? It was always like, oh, that's not a good thing, but like I kind of have to do it. And she turns it around, right? Like by saying, no, like this is my special place, and this is where I can do where I can be on the top of the hierarchy. She's the queen, right? Like she can decide what's happened, right? Like she's also with the oppression of other people, she's also removing the bondage that she feels as a consequence of the social dynamics.
Yeah, it's hard being a queen among people, but it's easy to be the queen when you're alone. Like you kind of have less kind of less energy to power yourself somehow, to rule over yourself, I think. And here, like, yeah, let's go further. The wind is howling like this swirling storm inside. Couldn't keep it in. Heaven knows I tried. Okay, like, just let's stick with that for a minute. It's again situational. So she's here, she's on a mountain. Now she's seeing things. Now she's hearing things, like, and she's hearing the wind, and she's relating to the wind. It kind of like, she says there is swirling storm inside her, so she feels like this agony, and then she's just screaming, couldn't keep it in, heaven knows I tried.
Yeah, so there's this element where she's seeing what's inside of her, outside of her, but also now she's identifying with the outside, right? Like so it's her kingdom, right? And her kingdom is assuming her identity in some sense, right? So there's this shifting of who she is to the outside. There's a release there, and she gives up, right? Like, I couldn't keep it in, heaven knows I tried. It's past tense, right? She's just like, okay, I'm done.
well, she's alone now on this mountain, so she can confess somehow. And so she's now releasing whatever she was keeping in. And that's the outcry that she has inside. Don't let them in, don't let them see, be the good girl. You always have to be. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know. So all those limitations, well, now they know. So spoiler alert for those who didn't see Frozen, she's at that point because people discovered her secret and they rejected her for her secret. And that's why she went into isolation. But still, even in isolation, she's this queen. And since people already know her secret and she already knows the result, rejection, like she was rejected, she goes into that mode of naming whatever. Like I really like that idea that she names whatever is happening to her. She verbalizes it so that she can kind of deal with it, but she still doesn't deal with it yet properly. That comes later in the movie. Like here it's interesting because she's breaking free her chains somehow, yet at the same time she's chaining something else. Like it's like double thing. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know. Be the good girl. You always have to be like is she thinks she isn't.
Well, yeah, yes. I was going to go there in a different way. Like, I don't know that she knows what a good girl is, right? But yeah, like in that sense, she's also thinking that she isn't the good girl. So
like whatever her power is, for which she was rejected, is so bad that she has to conceal it. Otherwise, she's the bad girl. Don't feel. Like she doesn't, like she was taught not to feel things, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Like I'm still stuck on that first line. Don't let them in. Don't let them see. Right. So that's a turning away. Right. Like that's setting the ground. Okay. Like there's a relationship that I want to have, but that's not possible. Like I can't go there. And then the conceal, don't feel, don't let them know is how she has to be in order for them not to let them in and not to let them see. So I don't know if she's taught that, but she feels like she has to be that way because she can't let them in and can't let them see.
Well, there was analysis of Frozen, also done by Jordan, that they actually suppressed that child. Yes. I will go into the story a little bit in here. So as a child, she discovered that she has magical powers. She can she controls ice, and she controls the kind of that weather thing. Like she's so powerful, and she used it to play with her little sister. She's like, she was making little snow structures for her. She was entertaining her little sister, and by accident she froze her sister. Like she threw a frozen star inside of her, or whatever. Like she, and sister almost died, but they saved the sister and erased sister's memory. Like the sister doesn't remember that it happened, but they did not erase Elsa's memory. They kept it. So she always lives with the guilt and fear that if she uses her powers, she will kill her little sister. So in order, and of course there was back then in this royal magical realm, there were no good psychologists. So the parents told her to conceal. If she feels rage or sadness, she should not show it, she should hide it. They completely repressed that girl.
Mhm.
like in a horrible way. Plus she felt guilty, and she also decided never to play with her sister, which is even worse, because like there was the saddest song ever called "Do You Want to Build a Snowman," where she closed herself in the door and little sister was knocking. It was like, "Do you want to build a snowman?" Like, that was so sad. It was like the saddest thing I have ever seen. And at that moment, felt like it.
Mhm.
Then I have seen more sad things, but still.
Yeah, and I think that's connecting to the good girl, right? So the good
Yeah,
girl is not using her power.
yeah. And good girl also doesn't feel. Yeah. And good girl hides her powers, because if people find out that she has those powers, they will think she's a witch and so on, right? Like, they will absolutely reject her, because this is not natural to have powers. It's horrible. And it's like, if you have powers, this means you are immediately dangerous. So yes, she always wore gloves, and that's why in the video she takes off her gloves, because her power was in her hands, and in order not to use power, she has to wear those gloves, like this repression gloves somehow. She cannot touch people, like.
And in history, right, when people
Mhm.
were getting serious, they take off their gloves as well, right? Like,
Yes, it's like, yeah, it's applicable to a lot of yeah. So, and here she names that, could not keep it in, heaven knows I tried. So she did all the best. She was concealing it until people actually found out. And the moment people found out, they did exactly what she expected. They all rejected her. And that's where she goes into this isolation. And she feels comfortable in the isolation because nobody judges there. Now she can finally be the queen she wants to be, and she can create now. She always wanted to use her, she wanted to train her powers, but she could not. There was no X-Men studio or nothing. Like,
so
like,
yeah. What I feel is, well, now they know, right? So I first have the sense of that, this inevitability, right? Like this was going to happen anyway at some point. And I also have this idea, right? Like the Sikhs, for example, have this weapon that they carry, but they have this commitment never to draw the weapon. So there's this element where you have the strength, but you're not showing it, right? You're not acting it out. And like I feel that there's a tension that's always there, right? Because if you're stronger, right, like you're set apart, right, like you're alien, and then people have a hard time relating to you, right? So the right action is not to confront them with that, or at least not unnecessarily confront them with that. And now she did confront them, right? And now they know, and so now there's a new phase. There's a new time of her life, and the way that she's reacting is by rejecting everything, right? And she just like, I'm going to do my own thing.
I was thinking that, well, now they know. It's like, regardless how much she tried to conceal it, they still found out. Like, what good was me trying? Like, I should have tried it earlier. They found out anyway. Like, so she has this disappointment. So like, that trying to conceal is wrong. And she's like, why? Like, the way she sang it, well, now they know. Like, you know, like she's angry at them. So this is coming out, and yet she's alone, so she has to contextualize all of these things for herself, and of course she will draw wrong conclusions, because there is no perspective of somebody who loves her, right? There is like, and I don't think she completely loves herself, so she misses her sister here. Like, she need, okay, again, I'm
Well,
going
yeah,
into the animation here.
and it's let it go, can't hold it back anymore, right? So she's having this feeling, this drive, this passion inside of her, and she's giving over to the passion. So yeah, it's like this relief, right? Like it's like going to the toilet when you have to hold it up like for a long time, and then it's like let it go.
Yeah, nice projection. So reality based, very relatable. Good one. Turn away and slam the door. I don't care what they're going to say. Let the storm rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway. Like I'm still projected it onto whatever you said. Like,
And the cold never bothered me.
like icicles. Okay. Turn away. I don't care what they're going to say. Okay.
So yeah, like what's going on there is she's establishing her own narrative, and she can't integrate with the other people, right? Like she now has to do this thing on her own, and like the way I envision her position, it's like these jailers, right? That kept her locked, and there's this intuition in her that like there's something there, right? But like she can't face it. Like it's too recent, too fresh for her, and that's why she's like, no, I don't care. Like I'm turning away from it.
I don't like that phrase, turn away and slam that door. I don't care what they're going to say. So she cuts herself off from everybody completely. And like she puts this basically stonewalling everybody from the outside. It's a very bad way to deal with the situation. It helps temporary. If you are overwhelmed, let's say, so it's okay to go and like shut the door and come down. They always have to go out, come back, and like kind of reality check your view with views of other people, so you can be in the society, let's say. And here is like basically the representation of isolation. Like she doesn't want to go and like compare and like integrate both realities, hers and reality of the rest of the people. She wants to live and build her own reality now. And now she's like, let the storm rage on. I think she talks about the storm which is inside of her. The cold never bothered her anyway. It's yeah, she's okay with it in a sense.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a sense of apathy there, right? Because that's the only way that you can justify turning away. It's like, well, I don't care. Because if you do care, and this is I connected to a stage of grief, and I don't know this sequence, but like I feel like there's a
Denial, yes.
denial. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true. I really like that Disney did a wonderful job of showing that destructive pattern. Although I'm not sure all girls understood what it was, but they must have, because in real, they later on, again, spoiler alert, who didn't see it, but you should. She, when she goes, becomes that, she kills her sister almost again from that place. Even though she let go, she accepted her powers, she did not accept her kindness. Like the kindness is the thing that she rejects now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's interesting, right? Like so it's the one approach she fails, and then the opposite approach she also fails, right? And so now we got these two opposites, and obviously the answer is not in either of them. It's somewhere in the middle, and that's the integration aspect.
Like actually, in both of them, she was free to use her powers. but in one of them, she did it out of kindness by accident. And in the second one, she did it also by accident, but out of anger. Like, regardless, using her powers did get her sister. Like, I think what I would blame here is the fact that she did not train her powers. Like, in both cases, her sister got harmed by accident. Is like because Elsa did not know what her powers are, and she did not have time to train them. If she would train them and control them and know when her energy destroys somebody who loves her, then like this awareness would have prevent all of that. I like that they do it later on in the second part.
Yeah, but you can also say she could have trained her emotions, right? Because like the reason that I'm not certain, right? But the reason that she's doing these things is out of emotion, right? Like she's getting overwhelmed in emotion, and that's why the power goes out of control.
Both times is the accident. Not like she was not emotional the first time. So the common denominator I'm trying to find.
Okay.
The common denominator is not the emotions, but unawareness of what she's doing. And here they show a glimpse of it, how she names things around. There is wind. Wind sounds like me, and like wind sounds like whatever storm is inside me. There is snow. Everything is white and not a footprint. This means I'm alone. There is not like she analyzes the surrounding and then she relates to it. And this way, it's awareness of surrounding and whatever she's doing that is important. That one she has to train, the observational skills, because she's too much in her head, and she like later on. But those glimpses of awareness, I like them in here. Like be with both feet on the ground, let's say. Don't fly away too much. Emotion's just a part of it. Like the moment she's grounded in reality, like she will be in control of her emotions as well. Like when you can take yourself out of your head by just focusing on surroundings. It's a practice that kind of helped me a lot.
Yeah, it's funny how some distance makes everything seem small. So that's when you take some distance, right? Like you get some sense of your surroundings. You get an awareness, and the smallness is also when you have to deal with something, right, and it's right in front of you, like you can't get around it, right? And if you take the distance, you get this overview, and new options appear.
And the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. So this means her fears were connected to whatever she took a distance from. Like the moment she distanced herself from that, like put a stone wall, she was not suddenly afraid, but as a consequence, she went into isolation. Yeah, of course, you cannot be afraid of messing up if you just don't go out to people. Like no going out, no messing up. Good solution. Like that's what she kind of, it's a temporary solution.
Yeah, but also a necessary step in some sense, right? Like
it is.
You need to get the distance in order to get the perspective.
But you should remember that it should be only short, temporary thing until you heal. Like imagine you got massively disappointed in a group of people, and then only distance can heal you. So you can take this distance, you heal up, but truly healed if you go back into that environment and not get harmed by the same group of people somehow, or like different group of people or situation. It's then you kind of owned it, But because as long as you are in the isolation and feeling safe, it's not yet fully conquering that situation. It's only when you came back full power or like full integration when the things can be finally kind of healed.
Right, because it's, she says the fears that once controlled me can't get to me, right? Like, so she's not dealing with the fears, she's just separating
Putting a
them
wall.
from her.
Yeah.
It's time to see what I can do to test the limits and break through. So that part is, to me, it's, she wants to stay in this new place, right? Like, she wants to stay in this perceived freedom, right, away from the fear. So she wants to live there in some way. She wants to become the queen of that place.
Isolation.
Yeah. No right, no wrong, no rules. For me, I'm free.
So I think it's what she said, to test the limits and break through. I think since she was afraid to harm people, but since she's alone and she cannot harm people, she will start finally training her power, and she will see everything possible that she can build, and then she can see if she got further than that, because there are no rules. She makes her own rules. She's the queen. And so that thing I like, because she's taking control over the even isolation, and she harnesses it in order to perfectionize her skill. So that one I kind of like, because she's not just sitting in isolation, she becomes active in her isolation. She's like, now, since I'm in isolation, I still want to be this creative being, and I still want to so she still grows, and she uses that isolation for good, in a sense, for herself. Like, she will yeah, the only fear that she has, that she harms others. And that was her chains, let's say, in the past. Yeah, I think isolation is necessary here until she completely trains her powers.
Yeah, but I'm when she says no right, no wrong, no rules for me, it's like these rules only exist for other people. It's like, no, there's also rules that exist for yourself, right? Like, you also have a relationship to yourself. And so yes, right, like there's this training of capacity, but it's not in the context of the other people, right? Like, so she's not training her skills in order to better be able to relate to the people that she couldn't use the skills with when she was with them, right? Like, that's not her goal. Like, she's going like all out.
Well, it was a repressed society. They were kind of peasants. So I think she had no choice here, actually. Like, she was way beyond the peasants that she was with. So she had to go into isolation. I do like the fact that she did not break in the isolation, but she used it for her own skill perfection somehow. Because and here, see, she's further. She keeps developing all the time throughout the song. It's development and growth, which I really identify with. Like, make lemonade even out of those few lemons that you got. Like, the massive positivity in here. So when she lets go, I'm one with the wind and sky. She's finally connecting. She was not connecting with the society she was in, but with the freedom she connects, wind and sky. You will never see me cry. She's alone, so nobody will see her cry. And then she again grounds herself. Here I stand, and there is this grounding moment. And here I stay, grounding again. Let the storm rage on. So she accepts the storm that is inside her, and she makes it. She's so powerful that by accident she froze all the peasants. That's what happens later on.
Yeah, so I get a little. So there's a couple things that stand out. So you'll never see me cry. Like that's, to me, that speaks like a conviction, right? Like I'm gonna become the person that doesn't cry in front of people, or doesn't get in the situation that has to cry, right? So there's still this rejection in the never see me cry for me. And then the wind and the sky, right? Like those are really ineffable things, right? Like they're floating, right? Like they're ever changing. They don't have grounding, and so she's lost, right? Like she's in the chaos when she's one with the wind and the sky, and then she's gonna make that her place, right? Like she's gonna.
Wind and the sky I associate with freedom, actually. Like
right.
It's even not the chaos. I'm one with the wind and the sky. It's like saying I'm free.
Yeah, but it's unbounded as well as free.
Yeah.
Right, but unbounded freedom is chaos. Because the boundness is the thing that's giving the order. And so you can say, well, here I stand, here I stay, right? Like you could say that's your grounding.
Hold on. Let me ask you something. So do you think freedom is chaos?
Ultimate freedom, yes.
Ultimate freedom is chaos.
I think proper freedom, right? Like discipline equals freedom, right? Like that's what people say, right? So you get freedom through discipline, right? But if you're disciplined, you're not really free.
It's very confusing.
Well, because the world is too big, right? Like there's too many options, so you need to pick from the options, right? Because you have this idea of choice paralysis, right? Where you have too many choices and you can't pick, right? So you need to limit the choices that you have in front of you to have an easy life, right? So you have to take the middle again, right? You need enough structure, but not so much that you get stuck.
I still like what she did here. Like she's one with the wind and sky, but she's here. Like that's amazing power. So she's grounded, but she's flying at the same time. It's like absolutely feeling of this. I don't know. It's inviting. Let's say that type of freedom. Although it did turn out bad for her sister later on, but for all the peasants, but still, like that feeling, I'm one with the wind and sky, but here I stand. Like those two together combined, really powerful. If you get to that state as a person.
Well, she got a conviction, right? Like I imagine her before just like doing what is required, right? And now she's doing what she wants, right? So in that sense, yes, right? Like that's really empowering that you find that place in yourself where, okay, this is me, right? Like this is where I stand, where I stay.
And then she says, let the storm rage on. And she kind of, that storm doesn't control her, but she starts to control that storm. She got in power. Like that's like a spell, like I'm here and now, and I'm the same as wind and the sky and the storm. So she takes out the storm out of her and she builds a castle. So she's able to shape the storm into a structure. Like that storm that was raging inside her, instead of just let it consume her, she harnessed it, and like basically instead of killing the dragon, she flew on it.
Yeah, I agree.
Like she did not suppress that storm.
the imagery in the video is actually really positive. I agree with that, right? Because if you get that storm and you make that castle from it, right? Like that's right. That's correct. But the line "let the storm rage on" alone
Yeah,
doesn't
the
convey that.
storm can rage on. She will like let me take that all that energy and then build something out of it. Wow, like that was really empowering for me to see. And then she goes into this kind of almost ecstatic moment where she's like, my power flows through the air into the ground. So she becomes like this wizard already. My soul is spiraling in frozen fractals all around. And one thought crystallizes like an icy blast. And then she gets sad. Like there she was powered, and then she's dropped. I never going back. The past is in the past. So she got into rejection. So she was doing something good. Then boom, back into sadness and denial.
Yeah, and she also got this clothes, I think, right, where she's getting this beautiful dress and then like this gown, right? So she's becoming literally becoming the queen.
She grows up somehow.
Yeah,
She
into
gets
the
out
transformation.
of.
Yeah.
But that part, like that's the way I see it, even in the melody sense. To my powers, my thought crystallizes everything, but then I never going back. The past is in the past. It's not empowering for me. It's again, it's sad.
It's identifying against as well, right? Like I'm doing this because I need to be separate. Like there's a corruptness in the motivation for her empowerment.
Like when she does, like all of doing that thing that she does, my power floor, it's good. All of it is good. The moment it becomes bad, if when she's like attaching negative emotion to it, with I never going back. Like in the animation, she's by accident. When she thought of that, I'm never going back. The past is in the past. She actually, without yet controlling her powers, but being in this massive creative mode, she by accident sent the winter down to this peasant land that she left. Lack of awareness, the emotions and whatever, it's fine. But the fact that she was not yet in control of the powers. She did not know what she was doing. She was intuitively just learning them. Oh, she needed a teacher. Like Xavier would really help her out here. Like he would be like, Storm, control your powers. Like she would be Storm in the, she controls weather basically.
Yeah, so my power flurries through the air into the ground. So that's positive in the sense she's grounding, right? Like she's getting rid of the excess energy.
Yeah, like that, like as a power thing, it's really good. Like whatever she says is good. Until the part I'm never going back. That one, because she did not deal with the past. And shutting it off will bite her in the ass eventually, and it did. Again, like you have to deal with the past. Just putting a wall in between you and the past, not helpful.
So the soul spiraling in frozen fractals. So that, yeah, that from my perspective, that's like also a little bit overwhelming, right? It's like I'm going in all of these directions at the same time, and it's like it's a lot. But I also get the sense of the feminine there, right? Where the feminine is more spread out, and like maybe that way it's better, right? Like it's just my need to be structured that's resisting here.
I think it's a spell. Like she doesn't even know what she's talking. Like she dives into nature of creation itself. Like she gets into this massive elevated state where she's one with the wind, one with creation, one with the fractals. Like she joins that, but then her past haunts her, and it kind of, instead of like her past kind of caught on to her from this state, pulled her down, and all that energy that she just harnessed from this magical space she got in, she threw into her past. She said, I will never going back, the past is in the past. And then she kind of cursed her past, and essentially in the animation she froze the land of people.
Yeah, and I think the line that's connecting is right, like the one thought crystallizes, right? So the crystallization of the thought is, it's like, well, that's really good if you have the right thoughts, right? But if these thoughts are going out of control because you're like looking back to the past because there's something you haven't dealt with, then stuff happens, right? Like like you're crystallizing things you don't want to crystallize.
Exactly. So again, because she was not in control of her powers, there was a lot of powers to begin with, but lack of awareness and lack of control, plus she did not deal with her past, ended up in her harming people. Yeah, it's amazing. Like that movie is super powerful, like extremely powerful, like profound.
Yeah, so I'm still like this control of the powers, right? Like what she's talking about is becoming one with the power, right? Like and the thoughts crystallizing. So I don't feel like she's ever in control at all. Like it's just happening and she's with it. Like she's participating with it. She's not controlling it.
It's a beginning, but it's a type of control. You, first of all, you have to be with it, you integrate it into yourself, you accept it fully. Then you also have to understand that it can happen before or after. You have to understand, be absolutely aware of it. And only after mastering those, you will be able to kind of control them and have power over them.
Yeah, but I see it like a surfer on like a big wave, right? Like that surfer can do things on the wave, right? Like he can do tricks or whatever, but he cannot control the wave. Like the wave is still the wave and he's still like stuck on the wave.
I mean, she's like this, imagine she's the operating system. And she can be good or bad operating system. I don't see her as a surfer. I see her as this yet not perfect kind of operating system of her powers. She's not yet optimized, and she needs to be optimized. She's not a surfer, like not in the context of that movie. Again, you have to see the movie. So
I get it, but I'm yeah.
She's
Peterson had criticisms of the movie, and I think I'm going with
very
Peterson's
good, like
criticism.
absolutely. No, you did not touch on the criticisms of Peterson. Like he actually criticized the male versus female aspect of the movie. Okay, also see the criticism of Peterson. That also good. Like we are not touching that. Ken Jordan, excellent criticism. I fully agree. And here I'm diving into the song Mir as this fascinated by that moment where it is actually good what she did. Like she discovered how to harness her powers, like by joining them, but then her past brought it down. Her past poisoned it, and all of the energies that she's just like was mastering, she threw into that past. Amazing moment. Let it go.
Yeah, let it go. When I'll rise at the break of dawn. So she's rising, right? So she's coming from a low place. So I think you're like really correct when you're saying she's being brought down by the past, right? Like, and now she has to rise back up from the place she's been brought down to.
Yeah. Let it go. When I'll rise like a break of dawn, let it go. That perfect girl is gone. So she talks to herself. Here I stand in the light of day. Let the storm rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway. So this is the entire end of it, is her being brought down by the past and affirming and again building that wall. Like she a little bit found a way to find positivity and to harness her powers for good, but then again, so I think she came back to the emotional state from the beginning of the song, kind of, but like building the wall, separating from people, rejecting her past instead of dealing with it. She just like that girl isn't there anymore. Like, but she is. That perfect girl is still there in your memory. You just blocked it out.
Yeah, and when you say the perfect girl is gone, you're talking about what you're not. You're not talking about what you are, right? So she doesn't have a positive identity that she's embodying. And then she also says, "Here I stand in the light of day." And in the previous piece where they were doing the sequence, she says, "I don't care what they're going to say." So she's transforming from "I don't care what they're going to say" to like, okay, like this is me. I'm asserting myself. Like I'm not affected by other people. I receive the light, right? Like I relate to nature, but she's again not relating back to the people. So there's still a rejection of being part of others.
Yeah. And because she found all that power, those new powers, not new powers, she tested her magical powers and broke through the limits. She effectively built the wall, ice wall in between her and people and froze them. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So the way I see it is like she was on this path, and there was this group of people behind her, and she walked on further along the path, right? Like she just kept walking the path, and now she's just further away. She just increased the distance between them and her. And now she's in the situation where she's even more alienated, and now she has to deal with that. Which is also something that I have to deal with. So when you isolate yourself and you cultivate something inside of you, not in relation to other people, then the chance that people are going to be able to relate to the thing that you cultivated becomes smaller and smaller because it's more and more just you and less other people.
I mean, I learned from that song, just to summarize, that it's not enough just to get the distance. You can, if you need time to cool off, but then sooner or later, you have to accept also the past, because here she just like, that's gone. Like I was doing all that thing, and for what? You all anyway found out. So instead of fixing that, she just like, I will go and just disregard all the rules and become my own queen and build that, test my powers, and which she did actually pretty correctly. Like it's really nice how she harnessed those powers. She used both grounding and flight and freedom. So she connected to earth, but then she also connected to other elements. Like, and she went into fractals even, which is amazing as well.
I like that word. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she went into thought, how thought crystallized, like she went into the how she can create with her mind. She went into that absolutely amazing space. But then because she did not deal with the past and she did it out of like identifying against, right? Like she did it in order to get away from them. Yeah, you always have to deal with your past first before you kind of start playing with your powers.
What this song brought out for me is it's all for me around this line. It's funny how some distance makes everything seem small, and there's a power in creating this distance, allowing you to re-engage. But I think there was a mistake that she made. So she only created the distance between her and other people, and she didn't create the distance between her and her own feelings. And I think that if she would have created the distance between herself and her feelings, as well as the other people, that she would have been able to get to the place where she could come back and put them back together, both of them. So that's the lesson I'm getting out of it.
In the context of the movie, she could not create distance between her feelings because that's the one thing she's breaking from. All her childhood, she had to conceal, don't feel, and suppress those feelings and like that thing. So this is actually the opposite of that. Like she gets free from that. She's finally accepting her feelings, accepting her emotions. That's why she does it. Yeah, thank you so much for the analysis. I learned a lot. I actually kind of discovered parts of that song that I did not notice before, which is good. Everyone, please enjoy the gifts of free time. Use it the way you feel is good. Please check out Manuel's podcast. All the links are below. And bye.
Bye. Let it go. Let it go. I'm the one. I'm one with the wind and sky. Let it go. Let it go. You'll never see me cry.